from one blood every nation of men to dwell on all the face of the earth, and he has determined their preappointed times and the boundaries of their dwellings, so that they should seek the Lord and hope that they might grope for him and find him, though he is not far from each one of us. For in him we live and move and have our being, as also some of your own poets have said, for we are also his offspring. Now, in verse 24, we saw how Paul introduced them to the number one, the greatness of God. He is creator. And number two, the goodness of God. He is provider in verse 25. Now, in these verses, he will show them, number three, the government of God. He is ruler. The government of God, he is ruler. Now, this is so important to point out because the gods of the Greeks were distant beings who had no concern for the problems and needs of men. Paul, he tells them in verse 26 that from one blood or one man, which is a reference to Adam, the first man, God made every nation of men to dwell on all the face of the earth. So we are all from one man, Adam. And seeing that God made us all, we're obligated to him. Remember, Paul is addressing their worship of the unknown God. He is saying that this unknown God is not only our creator, but he cares about us because he made us all. And not only that, not only did he make us all, but he cares and knows when we will be born. We get this from the phrase, and has determined their preappointed times. And he cares enough about where we live. We get this from the phrase, the boundaries of their dwellings. Now, this is so mind-blowing to me that the God of creation cares so much about us that he knows the day of our birth, our predetermined times, and where we live to this day, the boundaries of their dwellings. And God has, hold your seat, God has, watch this, he's ordained our neighbors, the people we live near. Now, I know some of you are saying, I just can't stand the sight of my neighbors. Well, God has predetermined that you live near them and them near you. Now, why would God do such a thing? Or verse 27 tells us. We see Paul telling them so that they should seek the Lord. This is why God has allowed for us to be alive today and to live by the people we live next to. Why? So that they, your neighbors and your co-workers, might see your Christian life and cause them to seek the Lord. Oh, let's go a little bit deeper here. The Greek word for seek is zeteo, and it means to worship, to desire, to seek. And Paul is saying that God has placed us next to people so that they might see us worship and seek our God, and it will cause them to want to seek and worship him too. Oh, when people look at your life, can they see and tell that you're a worshiper of God? Those who work with you and are related to you, or live next to you, as they observe your life, does it cause them to want to seek after the God of creation? This is so important because the last part of this verse says, in hope that they might grope for him and find him. The Greek word for grope is salatheo. It's a great word, and it means to search for, to feel after. The idea is a vivid picture of the way a person in darkness is searching for the light switch. This is how we were before Christ, and this is how many of our friends and our coworkers and relatives are now, like blind men searching and feeling and groping for the purpose of life. They're looking all around, stumbling over each other because they can't see. They're in the dark. This is the idea of that Greek word here. Trying to find the meaning of life. Oh, Jesus told Paul in Acts 26 and verse 18, he says the purpose of this is to open their eyes in order to turn them from darkness to light, from the power of Satan to God, that they might receive forgiveness of sins and an inheritance among those who are sanctified by faith in me. These are the words of Jesus to Paul when he was first converted to Christ. So it is our job as Christians to turn on the light so that they can see